Good morning, guys. Today, as you can probably guess, we're going to be making a sock puppet. Not much of a puppet yet, it's just a sock. So, let's do what we can to make ourselves something a little more like this guy. So, this is a sock puppet that I made earlier, and I made him a little hat out of felt, and see, I hand stitched all of that. I just cut out the pieces and stitched it together. And I made him some hair out of ribbon, or her. I'm not sure what exactly she is at the moment. And then I've got buttons for eyes, and you just put your hand in the sock. Like, oops. Sorry, I hit the camera. Okay, that kind of got crazy for a second. Okay, and then you have a sock puppet that talks, and you can make it have singing or tell jokes or do a play. You can make a whole bunch of sock puppets. So I'm going to show you how to make a sock puppet using the things that you got in your kit this week. Okay, so the first one I'm going to do, I'm going to start with the no-sew sock puppet. So the first thing you want to do is take your sock and put it on your hand so you can see where the face of the puppet should go. So once you've got your sock on your hand, then you want to take a marker of some type. I'm going to use this Sharpie right here and figure out where you want to put your eyes. So on this one, my eyes are going to go right here and right here. That's about where I want my puppet's eyes to be at. Okay, so then take the sock back off. And because we're not sewing on this one, I'm going to lay it nice and flat. And in your kit you had 2 googly eyes if you're doing the no-sew one. One of my googly eyes is different than the other, so I'm going to grab my extra box of googly eyes because I have a lot of googly eyes in my life. I'm going to get one that matches. There we go, because I want my puppet to have matching eyes. So we'll put that away. Okay, so... well, there we go. You pick up your googly eyes, and we're going to put a little glue on the back of each eye. I'm using tacky glue, which is a craft glue. I really like this one because it's easy to work with and it seems to dry pretty fast. So if you're looking for glue, that's the one that I like. Okay, I'm just going to glue the eyes onto the sock. And now it has some eyeballs. And because this is no sewing, I'm also going to do a few things to make it look a little more individual, give it some personality. Now you can certainly stop at this point if you want to. You do not have to continue. You can just have eyes and then you can give it personality with your voice or by what it does. But on this case, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to give it some eyebrows. Yeah. There we go, eyebrows. And I'm going to give it a little nose, just a little nose. And I think with this one, I'm going to go with it's a girl. So I'm going to give her some eyelashes. Not that boys don't have eyelashes. Boys can have eyelashes too. Oh, looks like I made a bit of a mess. I'm going to get rid of the eyebrows and just make big eyelashes. That's what I've changed my mind. See, that's the wonderful thing about art and creating. At any point, you can change your mind. And now if I wanted to, I could give her eyebrows up here, but I think I'm going to skip that and just kind of keep her where she's at. Okay, and if you want to give it lips, my suggestion is put the sock puppet on. I don't know how my eyeballs are going to stay on. You might want to let them dry before you mess around with it too much. There. And you can kind of see where the lips are going to be. So in this case, I'm going to take the Sharpie in the pink one, and I'm going to give her a little bow mouth. There we go. But I want to color that in. It's a lot easier to do with 2 hands when one's not in a sock. So I'm going to turn that around. Flatten it back down some and color in her lips. Okay, so that's some idea of what you can do to make a sock puppet with no sewing. Now I'm going to do a little bit of a video that shows what to do if you got the sew kit, where you're going to be threading a needle and sewing the button eyes on. So if you're not doing that part, you might want to skip forward just a little bit, and we'll be right back. After that, I'm going to show how to make the finger puppet. So everyone got stuff, there's a bunch of random felt in your kit, and this felt will show you how to make a finger puppet. So that's going to be the second part. Okay, now for this video, I've already marked where the eyes go by putting the sock on my hand and marking it with a Sharpie. So now we're going to get our needle, and in these needles, these are sharp, so you don't want to poke it in your finger. These are real needles. So, and then there's some string in your kit that's wound around a brown piece of cardboard. So I want you to get a piece of string. You don't want to get it so long that you get in knots, but you want to be able to double it up. So I'm going to take the string. I always wet the end by sticking it in my mouth. Maybe that's unsanitary, but no one else is going to touch it, so that's okay. And then we're going to thread a needle on. Now this is really mean, making Miss Diana thread a needle. Oh, I did it on camera when she can't see so good anymore. Okay, then you're going to take your string and you're going to fold it or pull it till it's doubled. So you have two pieces of the same length through your needle. Okay, now I'm going to show you a trick that my mom taught me when I was a little girl. Okay, in order to get a knot in the end of my string so I don't pull it through the sock all the way, which is definitely something I don't want to do, I'm going to wet my finger and then wrap the string around it a few times. Wet the other fingers and then roll the string off the end of my finger and then just pull it tight. And that makes an ugly but effective knot in your string. That was what I was taught to do when I was little. But now for the fun part, we're going to sew the eyes onto this sock. So one of the things you're going to need to do is be able to get to the middle of the sock. So I'm going to roll the sock up like that. See how I've got where I can see the inside of the sock as well as I can see the outside? And then I've already marked my spots, so I'm going to take my first button and I want to decide, do I want it to be flat or do I want it to have the divot in the middle? I think I want the divot to kind of be in the middle there. And so you're going to want to come up from the inside of the sock for your first stitch and push it through a hole in the button. You can kind of feel your way there. And then that way, the knot is on the inside of your sock. Okay? Now, there's a lot of theories on how to sew on a button correctly. You can go and make X's across the button. You can go back and forth this way. You can make a square. You can do anything you want to do. This is your sock puppet, your button. Do it your way. I am going to go in another hole and then being very careful not to stick myself in the finger. And then you just keep going back and forth until your button is secure. I would say maybe 10, 15 times tops will do the job. So, but you want it nice and secure. So you got to keep that sock kind of rolled up. So now you can go through another hole in the button. And you just do that kind of by feel. And then, there we go. And then put it back in on the side that you're on. And so you're always working from the side that the needle's actually on. Oh, I poked myself. So you got to be very careful not to just reach out and grab because you'll poke yourself with a needle. And it's not the worst thing that could happen, but it doesn't feel wonderful either. Okay, and then you put it back through. Being very careful to grab the needle and not poke yourself with it. There we go. Okay. Now, if you want to practice this a little bit before you try to sew it into a sock, because it is a little more challenging to sew it to a sock than it is a flat piece of material, you can practice sewing your button just onto any piece of material until you get the hang of it, and then you'll be ready to tackle the full-on button sewing. Okay, so that's how you sew a button onto your sock puppet. When you're done, go ahead and put it through on the other side. I will show you. That's a better idea. Okay, so now that we have done it, let's say 10 or 15 times. I know I didn't, but this is just to show you. Okay, now I'm on the inside of the sock. I'm ready to tie off my string. So what I like to do is I take it and I go up underneath the knot, staying on the same side, not going through the button, and I just stay on that same side a couple times, take it through there a few times, secure it, and then ta-da! You officially have a one-eyed sock puppet. Okay, so now your job is to sew on your other button, and then you've got your basics done. And you can use markers, you can use some of the felt that we sent for the finger puppet to make accessories for your puppet. You can use material that you have laying around the house. You can use yarn for hair. You can use ribbon for hair. I just sewed. I took the ribbon and I made curls, and then I just sewed the ribbon down. And then I put the hat over the top where the ribbon's sewed down so you don't see it. So there's lots of different things you can do to make your sock puppet an individual, and I look forward to seeing what you guys do. So please send videos, send photos. I want to see how these turn out. And next we are going to show how to make the no-sew finger puppet. Okay, so this is our no-sew finger puppet. This is the one that I made, and this is just felt and my googly eye and some glue. That's all I used. And you can make anything you want out of yours. This is the shape that I went with this one, and so in your kit you should have one large piece of felt, and that was put in there so you could make your finger puppet. And hopefully yours is a little bit straighter than what this piece is, so I'm going to cut this little bit straight so it's nice and straight along the bottom, because that's where the bottom of my finger puppet's going to be at. Okay, so the first thing you're going to want to get is some sort of marker or pen that will write on your felt so you can see, and you're going to draw the outline of your finger puppet. See, with this one, I gave him little arms that kind of stick out. Let's see, I think with this puppet I'm going to give him a great big round head. Okay, and then I'm going to give him kind of long, slithery arms. And then kind of maybe almost like it's wearing a dress. That's the shape I'm going to do for this finger puppet. Now remember, you can do any shape you want. You just want to make sure it's wide enough that your finger fits on there. So this one might be a little bit too narrow. So I'm going to make a correction and go in and go wider right through here. Because you still have to glue it together, and you want to be able to fit your finger inside of it. And it's okay if you mark on the outside, because you can turn this over and glue that on the inside of the puppet. No one will ever see the marking that where you changed your mind. I don't like to say making a mistake. I like to say changed my mind. And it's totally an okay thing to do to make a mistake. But the nice thing about mistakes is we learn from them. Okay, got that. Now you're going to cut that shape out on the folded piece. See how I've got it folded in half, and I'm cutting two of the same shape? That's a very important thing, because if you don't have two that are the same shape, you can't glue them together. So then you just cut out your puppet. And almost finished and done. Okay, so now I can put these pieces aside, and I do like to save my scraps because you never know what you're gonna make next. And you might need some little scraps to decorate. Okay, now that you've got your two pieces, lay them on top of each other so you can see that they fit nicely, and mine do. Okay, then you take your crafting glue, and everywhere except the bottom part where you're gonna put your finger inside, because it's not a very good finger puppet if you can't actually use it, you're gonna put glue all around the edge. Whoop. There. See, I didn't put glue across the bottom because that's where the finger goes. Put glue everywhere else. And now lay like a little sandwich your top piece on your bottom piece. Okay. Make sure it's all together. And there we go. Now, we've got it all glued together. Now, I want to give it some personality by decorating it. See that little piece right there? I'm going to trim that off when we're finished. You can kind of do cleanup whenever you're done. Okay, so for this puppet, I'm going to take my eyes. Now, I gave you, in your kit, you have 2 eyes. You can use them any way you choose. My first puppet was a one-eyed monster. And this puppet, I think I'm going for something a little more similar to us. Oh, okay, so I've got my eyes out. I'm going to put where the eyes are going to go on the puppet. I'm going to put a little bit of glue there and a little bit of glue there. And remember, this is your puppet. You can do this any way you want to. I'm just giving you an idea of how I did it. So then you can use your creativity to kind of come up with your way of doing it. Okay, so now, whoop. I think I got one eye on upside down. That's kind of weird looking. Okay, there. Now I've got my puppet eyes in place. Now you can use the little bits of fabric that came in your kit. You should have several different colors and several different pieces. It's a good idea to cut them out and lay them where you want them and then glue them down when you're finished. So that way, if you change your mind while you're doing this, you can easily make a change. Okay, so I'm going to try by cutting out a mouth first. Okay, so I'm going to wing it. I'm not going to draw it this time. Kind of an upper lip. And then I'm going to give her the bottom of her smile. And you can trace it out if you want to, and then cut around the lines. There. I think I did all right. There we go. Okay, so now she's got a mouth. Now, I think I want this puppet to have some hair. There's lots of different ways to do hair. I am going to give this one some bangs. So, the easiest way that I have found to do hair is go, okay, well that's approximately where their head's going to be. I'm going to cut a corner off of here. Because if anyone has ever met me, they know Miss Diana does love bangs. I like to wear my hair on my forehead. Okay. There, now. There's some bangs for her. So, what I'm going to do in this case is I'm going to go ahead and glue it down, and then I'm going to trim around it to make it not pointy at the top, because that would be kind of unusual looking. But you get the idea. You can make braids and glue braids on. All you have to do is take 3 strips. I did this on, if anyone's ever come in and played with our bears that we have on Bears on Sticks, and we do the teddy bear song, I have one with braids. So you just lay them like 3 pieces, and then you braid them back and forth. If you did the braided bracelet, you learned how to do that with yarn. You can also make yarn hair for your puppet. If you have yarn laying around the house, you can use all sorts of different materials from around the house to make puppets. Okay, so you get the idea, just kind of braiding it back and forth like that, and then you secure it with glue, and then you can put the braids on like this. Okay, so you get some ideas of what you can do with your puppet. You can make them clothing, or you can just decorate them with polka dots. It's all up to you. So I look forward to seeing what you guys make. Mine looks kind of like a duck with this mouth that she's got there. Maybe I'll make her into a duck later. So have fun making the No Sew puppets. You can do anything you want with the materials that we gave you. I look forward to seeing what you create. And I did want to show you one more. I'm not going to demonstrate how to make it, but see how you can use cardstock. I used just basic cardstock for this. I drew out my unicorn shape and I haven't completed it. I need to color her horn because it's kind of a boring unicorn horn. But I made her a horn. I made her little ears and a little muzzle on her mouth there and drew an eye on. And then I used yarn to create a mane and tail. And what I did for that, you can see on the back, I glued and then taped the yarn down, and I made a knot in this yarn and put it through a hole and then taped it down into place. And the idea behind this is you can give it legs and you've got a unicorn puppet. So you can use all sorts of scrap materials laying around the house to make all sorts of puppets. So I look forward to seeing what you guys have done. Please send me photos or bring them by the library when you come to check out books so I can see what you've made. I'm so excited to see what your creativity brings out as far as the puppets go. Oh, and I'm gonna go ahead and trim that so you can kind of get a final idea of what that looks like. See how I made it a little bit bigger than her head so it kind of covers her head. She looks like a duck with a really weird haircut. Okay, there we go. Puppets, have fun. Bye.